This is the NYXI Master P1. And yes, it is a multi-platform controller, and it's got one really simple feature that I absolutely love. So this is the box for the Master P1, and it does say the specs on the back. So we've got Hall effect joysticks, anti-slip laser textures, programmable back buttons, one-touch mute button, Hall effect analog triggers with microswitch adjustment as well, and there's a few other things that we'll discuss. Now in the box you do get a charging lead, and you also get a dongle here which I've got plugged into my Asus ROG Ally X using a USB-C to USB-A adapter, so I'm connecting it that way. Now this is a multi-platform controller, so you can swap it from Bluetooth mode to Nintendo Switch mode to the dongle mode. So obviously I'm rocking the dongle at the minute. So let's take a quick tour of the controller and what it looks like and all that good stuff. So here is the controller. Now we do have RGB LEDs and you can turn these off, and you can also adjust them as well. Standard D-pad, but this is actually a like micro switch D-pad, so it's very, very clicky. We've got our Hall effect sensing joysticks. We've got our face buttons, which are just, well, they just feel like membrane to me. And then we've got our sort of start, select, settings for changing stuff. We've got the home button as well, which acts as the Xbox button on the ROG Ally here. So it's bringing up game bar just there. On the top, we've got our triggers, our bumpers, and then you've got this funny little rail thing. Now, they don't actually tell you anything about this, but I've seen this on other controllers, and basically you can get little adapter things that slide in here to then put a phone on it, or like your Switch tablet, you know, like so that it's sat on the top just there. But I'm surprised they didn't just include that in the box, since there's like, you know, a key for it, but okay, whatever. Then you've got your USB-C charging port at the top just there, swipping it over to the back. I don't know what swipping is, but we've just done it. We've got this just here, which changes your Hall effect analog triggers. So these are just normal analog triggers like that, right? You swip it, because that's our word of the day, swip it up, and now you've got a micro switch. So it's like a hair trigger mode, which is actually really good for shooters and stuff, because when you're using a hair trigger, I like the micro switches. They're really fast to actuate. You can hear an audible click and you can feel that you've clicked it, rather than just putting like a stopper on the analog and it just kind of thumps to it. It's much nicer to have that satisfying, oh yeah, I've just pressed like a mouse button, you know, for firing, which is pretty cool. And you've got that on both sides, so you can just swip it and then go just here and change that, and it works very well. You know, it's really good. I've not had any like sticking or anything. As long as you push it all the way up to the top and bottom, you can't even really leave it halfway. Oh, you can, but then when you push it, it just drops it back down again. But yeah, anyway, that works very, very well. Then we have the back paddle buttons as well. And one thing I've started to notice with a lot of third-party controller manufacturers, they started putting lock features on them. So loads of people don't really like back paddles, and that's fair enough. I personally love them. I've always used them on the Steam Deck or the Ally and stuff like that. I really like back paddles. I test a lot of controllers as well, so I'm just used to them. But if you're not used to them, then maybe you don't want them at all, you know, because even if you don't assign them to anything, you can press them, and that might throw you off in the middle of a game if you're like, oh, what have I just done, right? So people have started doing this now, controller manufacturers, where there's literally a lock symbol. So you can just go boom, and now it hard locks it out. So it's just made it completely solid. So you can't even press it, so that you can't even feel it under your fingers. And I actually quite like that, you know, because you've got that back paddle just there and go, actually, you know what, I don't want that one, or maybe I just want one, or whatever, you know, you can lock them out. And I do genuinely like that, rather than just having to have them non-assigned. Then of course we have this, which I've already shown you. So you've got the dongle, Nintendo Switch and Bluetooth, and then finally we've got this, plus and minus. And no, this is not the start and select for a Nintendo Switch. This is actually volume control along with a mute button. So this is, on PC at least, actually controls the volume. So if I unmute, I've now unmuted the Ally. If I press up on the volume, right, and if I press and hold it, there we go. My game volume has gone up. Press and hold it, I can take the volume down, or, you know, just put it to wherever I want. Or if I don't want it at all, press the mute button, boom. That is so cool. I don't know why I love this so much. I genuinely don't know why I love this so much, because it's kind of a faff, you know. Let's say you've got your Ally or whatever it is you're connected to. Maybe you're just connected to a PC on the TV or something. Maybe you don't have access to your volume, right? So you can't just go, oh, I've got to get up, change the volume manually or whatever. You can just do that from the controller, and it seems so meaningless, like, but it's genuinely really handy. I mean, even for me, being ultimate lazy, where I've propped my ally, right, like in front of me on the desk, and I'm sat like at arm's width, I'm like, you know what, going like this is just too much effort for me. so this has been a lifesaver, you know, because, you know, ultimate lazy. But yeah, I can't stress enough how when I saw this and I saw what it was for, I was like, really? And then when I was testing it and using it over time, I was like, actually, I really like this feature. Like, it's really good. I know there's some controllers like GameSir often do like a combination where you press a button and then you can use the D-pad, and that's cool. But having physical buttons just here and a mute switch as well, I really, really like this feature. It's probably, if not definitely, my favorite feature of this entire controller. But now we've gone through what it's got, let's sort of go through each thing in detail, how it feels, like is the build quality good and all that stuff. So the controller itself is very lightweight, like it feels a little bit cheap. I'm sorry, NYXI, it does feel a little bit cheap. But I was thinking to myself, a lot of people do like really lightweight controllers, you know? Maybe if they're gaming for hours on end, they don't want a big, hefty, heavy controller. I personally quite like heavy controllers, but this doesn't feel cheap in terms of build quality. So whilst I feel like it just feels like a bit budget because it's light, the actual build quality of this is really good. So everything, all the fit and finish, all the like seams, everything just feels nice. There's no like hard or sharp edges anywhere on this at all. Like even the seams between the front and the back plate and stuff just feel nice in your hands. There is this rubber texture all the way around here. So, you know, some people don't like rubber textures. I get you, like they go a bit sticky over time and stuff, but you know, it's a hard rubber texture. So it's not like a real soft one. It's pretty firm. The rest of it as well has got this like nice matte finish to it. So it's not really a fingerprint magnet or anything like that. And again, the whole thing just feels like decent quality. There's not any like excessive rattle or anything. Everything just feels like quite tight and quite good, you know? So I definitely like the build quality, despite the fact it does feel very lightweight and on the slightly budget side, you know, in my opinion. And I'd probably say the same for the thumbstick cap. Obviously, you could just get, you know, replacement ones that you stick over the top. But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of these thumbstick caps. They're like completely flat, really. Like they're just flat and they're okay. They've got like rubber grip on them and stuff, and they feel fine when you're actually playing a game. But I don't know. I like real thick like rubber ones. I've got the Skull & Co convex grips on here, and they're so good. But you could definitely get a pair of those and just stick them on this, like not a problem. The bumpers feel nice and consistent with one another. They're not like overly spongy or anything. There's a bit of pre-travel but not really any post-travel. Again, the triggers are nice and like tight feeling, and then you've got that swip. And then you've got up to the micro switch, which definitely feels nice as well. Like, everything just feels quite nice. Now we're into controller tester, and I'll just show you some of this. So you can see the analog triggers just there. So when I'm pressing it lightly, it's going to slowly actuate it. If I change it and swip it up to the micro switch, it's going to be 100% on. D-pad, inputs everywhere, and yes, if you hold down and then rock like left hard enough, it will input left or right. So, you know, there is a bit of like 8-way action going there. There's no way of changing this just into a solid 4-way D-pad. I'm not a big fighting game person, so I can't really tell you if this is any good, but I would say, just judging on it, probably not the best for fighting games, but for platformers, it's been fine for me from what I've been testing, so that's not a problem. The face buttons then, the face buttons are actually quite nice. So they are just membrane face buttons, and they've got like a bit of a convex on them, you know, so they like bubble outwards, they dome up and around, but they are quite tight. There's no like pre-travel, a little bit of post-travel on them, but they don't get stuck or anything, and they return quite quickly. They just feel nice, you know, I do quite like them a lot. The joysticks then are actually very good. So yes, these are Hall effect joysticks. Yes, you probably know what they are already, but if you don't know, then these use magnets instead of friction to input, right? So basically you're not gonna get drift, or way less likely compared to a potentiometer stick. Generally they're more accurate, lower dead zone, and yeah, they're just good. But these ones in particular are very good. So you can see here on the axis, right, it's 0.402 on all of them. So they're all very much like centered very well. You can't put these into raw mode if you know what that is. If you don't worry. There's a bit of dead zone like applied to it just to make sure that it's absolutely nailed in center, but they are very, very accurate. And to test that, let's test the circularity. So I'm going to do this right one. 0.0% margin of error. And the same for the other side. Now that's 0.0%, like none whatsoever. Usually when I test controllers, even ones with like TMR sticks and stuff, which are like meant to be like the best Hall effect sticks, they often get way more margin of error than this. None, like none whatsoever. Sometimes they're like 0.4, sometimes they're like 12%. These are 0. So I'll take that as a win. You know, I've not had any problems with these playing stuff. I've been playing Black Ops 6 with this, and yeah, paired with the fact that you've got the, you know, the microswitch on there, actually really good. But let me show you some of the other features this has. So yes, we do have turbo, right? So turbo, if you don't know, instead of me having to keep pressing this button, right, and continuously press like this, I can get the controller to do it for me. So I can press settings plus X just here. And now when I hold X, you can see that the light's flashing. Hopefully you can see that. And the controller's rumbling and everything. And he's just going crazy, just inputting for me, right? But then when I let go, he stops. If I do settings and X again, and press it once, I can now just leave the controller and he's gonna just keep doing it for me indefinitely until I pause it with X, right? If I press settings again and that button once more, it's now canceled it out completely. So that's what turbo is. And the whole point of turbo is to stop you like excessively inputting, and it reduces wear on the buttons as well, you know, and it's actually good for people that maybe have like get like hand cramps and stuff like that. Like if that's you, then you can save yourself by doing that. I actually found it really useful when I used to play Animal Crossing on the Nintendo Switch, because there's so much digging and swimming and stuff like that where you just had to keep pressing the button. I just got bored of that, so I was like, turbo, press it once, let go, and just run around, and he would automatically dig for me. It was really handy. Now the other thing you could do as well is assign these back paddles, right? So what I'm going to do is press settings and that back paddle for a couple of seconds. This is going to flash like mad. Let's do X again, and then I'm going to press that back paddle once more. And now when I press the back paddle, he's doing that. Now for me, what I normally do is assign the like L3 and R3, because I hate pushing a stick, because you always end up overshooting and stuff, you know, if you're playing like Call of Duty. For run, I hate that run is L3. That's so annoying, because then you're like moving the stick as you're pressing it down. So I always remap it to these back paddles so that I'm like purely accurate. I can just focus on my direction or aiming or whatever, right? And then I can press the back paddle to input L3 or R3. So yeah, that's what I do. So again, settings, the one that you want, hold it down, and then I'm going to press in that one, press the back again, and now on this game it recenters the camera. So that's what R3 does, right? So I've set that to the back. But that's not all. You can do a macro input, right? So I'm going to press settings and that back paddle again until it flashes. I'm going to jump. I'm going to like move around and hit and stuff. And then I'm going to press that back paddle. And now I can press it, and he's going to do my actions input for me, right? So you can record a macro sequence, but you can't then assign turbo to it. So you can't do that. It doesn't let you assign a turbo to the macro, but that's fine. To cancel it out, you can either press and hold the settings buttons, or what I normally do is just remap it back to R3, and then I'm done. And then finally, you've got adjustable rumble as well. So settings and down lowers the rumble, settings and up increases the rumble. So you've got like 4 stages, and it's a nice heavy swoopy rumble, right? I normally put it on about 70%. Oh, this has gyro as well, but I haven't tested that, sorry. And of course you've got a load of RGB LED settings as well. I'm not going to bother showing you that because most people don't care. But you can adjust all of this stuff again with settings, and then like using, you know, the triggers, the joysticks. I can't even talk, right? But you can change stuff around. It's cool. You can do that if that's your thing. So the NYXI Master P1 comes in, I think, at about $50. Think on their website it converts to about £38 here in the UK. So it's a sort of like mid price point controller. And to be fair, it's got good specs. You know, the fact that it's even got the adjustable micro switch settings on the back just there, I really like that, because they didn't have to put micro switch in there. They could have just locked it off for analog, right? But I like that they've done that. I like the back pedal locks. I like that it's a multiplat controller. I like it's got a Hall effect analog sticks, which are 0% error rate. So they're very good sticks. You've got that micro switch D-pad. You've got consistent bumpers, decent analog triggers as well. The face buttons are nice. I like it. Like, it's just a nice controller. But for sure, my number one feature is, of course, that volume switch on the bottom. I don't know why people haven't done that before. Like, I've definitely never seen it before with physical buttons, and I genuinely love this feature if you're using like a PC or whatever. I'm sure if you're on Switch and whatever that you connect to, it probably adjusts it there. I have, hold my hands up, only tested this with my Ally X because it's basically all I play now. But yeah, I really like that. Mute, volume up, volume down, perfect. Like, it makes it so much easier to control your device with, and that's really what you want. So would I recommend this controller? Yeah, there's not actually anything that I can say that's not good about it. Again, it's a bit light. I don't really know why they've bothered putting this on here without giving you the like adapter to like stick like a phone bracket on there or whatever. Like, so I don't see the point of that, but whatever. Okay, fine. But everything else I really like. Is it worth $50? I mean, that's up to you. Are the features good enough for you? I think they're decent. And those extra added features of the macro and the turbo and that volume and mute button as well is a win in my book. So let me know what your thoughts are of the NYXI Master P1 down in the comments. Whilst you're down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you can see these videos early sometimes. You can talk to me and AJ. And talking of AJ, go check out our podcast over here where we talk about all things gaming, and I'll see you in another one. Bye. What was that? Bye.